guys, it's Maria, and today I'll be reviewing Helluva Season 2, Episode 7. And that is a very long title, and I do not feel like saying it. So, yeah, it's the Mammon episode. So, I'll be talking about what I liked about it, so let's get started. Let's start with Fizzarolli and his character growth. We got to see a side of Fizz we didn't expect to see. It shocked me to see him so vulnerable and fragile, and I rooted for him during the contest. Seeing him being cornered so many times and crumble in this episode made me feel really bad for him. I hoped you would finally see that he is good enough and he stands up for himself, which he does at the end of the episode. Now that we've talked about Fizz, let's talk about Fizz and Ozzy's relationship. We got to see some of it last episode, but we really get to see more of it in here. I love how Ozzy is so concerned for Fizz and wants to protect him from Mammon. I especially love this heartfelt moment with Ozzy helping Fizz through a panic attack, and Fizz being worried that he isn't good enough, especially for him, which was honestly heartbreaking, and I'm glad Ozzy was able to get him through it. And that panic attack was amazingly executed, by the way. Speaking of amazingly executed, that scene where Fizz is talking to a deaf kid in sign language was the most beautiful scene and legit nearly made me cry. I loved this because of the representation it is to the deaf community. My mom actually works as a paraprofessional, which means she works with special needs kids, and she's had a few semi-deaf kids, so she knows a bit of the basics of sign language and as well as the alphabet. So yeah, it meant a lot. Anyways, seeing this was really heartwarming, and I hope we get more representation like this in the future, which I'm sure we will. Now we'll talk about Blitz. He didn't have a big role in this episode, but he still contributed in a very clear way. I really love the rekindled relationship between Fizz and Blitz trying to be the voice of reason for Fizz about Mammon, even when they were younger. He even protected Fizz when he was young and, being harassed by a crazed fan. You guys know who I'm talking about. So this imp that has been named or dubbed Creepso is, I guess, the representation of some fans or like celebrities, which are like weirdos that have an unhealthy obsession towards them. This one scene with Fizz and Creepso can be like real interactions that people have had, and it's always the same. They compliment them at first and tell them that their work is amazing, but the minute they get rejected, they just do like a 180 and say their work sucks. Even go as far as to hurt them, as we see later in the episode, and thankfully Blitz was there and took care of him. This kind of reminds me of what happened to John Lennon, who was killed by a so-called fan. It's a true reality, and it's scary that there's people that can be like that, and they have the nerve to call themselves fans. As we see in the episode, I think he wanted Fizz because he was successful and he could make money out of him like Mammon did. Luckily, he got what was coming to him, which was a bullet to the face. Now that we've talked about Creepso, let's talk about Mammon. Mammon, to a lot of people, is kind of like Valentino. And I agree. Mammon uses Fizz for profit like Val does to Angel. They also use intimidation and manipulation tactics to get what they want. These are just two similarities that we see, but this might be another one, but this is more of a hunch. They both probably always want to have the last laugh. In the episode, Mammon says that Ozzy was going to regret revealing his feelings for Fizz in a menacing way. It might be the same with Valentino, and maybe with Angel and Husk, or maybe he'll say something else menacingly to another character of the main cast, like Alistair. But since we don't know much about Val at the moment, we aren't sure. Also, side note about Mammon, he's also sexist, which reminds me of Adam. I also want to talk about this scene real quick because I thought it was hilarious. In the beginning, when Mammon said that women aren't funny, you can see for a split second on the left side it says Viv's name, because she's the creator and she's a woman, so I thought that was comedy gold. Anyway, since we talked about relationships, representation, and character similarities, let's talk about the songs. Though not too much because I don't have a lot to say. The songs were good and the visuals for them were amazing and colorful, and for sure they are going on my playlist. Now, are they the best songs of the season? No, well, for me at least. My number one song for this season is still Stolas' Lammet, but that's just my opinion. Well, that was my review, and overall, I really liked the episode. It may not be my favorite, but it did have its moments. But what do you guys think? Please leave me a comment down below and let me know. Please like and subscribe, it helps my channel out. Bye guys! When recording this, when I got to the part where I was talking about the deaf kid, I legit started crying, guys. Like, I am not kidding.